Good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Iori Folani. Hope we meet you well. Let's look into the judiciary, by which I mean, of course, the big news is that the officers therein, especially the, how does one put it, the principal officers there, the Chief Justice, and all those very, very big men. President Tinubu has just signed the instrument that okays a 300% pay rise for such judicial officers. I've been reading commentary on it, and it's been a long time coming, is one tranche of the commentary that has gone, meaning that, look, there are those who have been agitating for this, or advocating, shall we say. There are those who have been advocating that, look, these high judicial officers do need to have a wage that is commensurate with their responsibilities and those of their colleagues around the world. Well, certainly those who have a very, very, very useful viewpoints on this will be members of the fold. And in that connection, we have two senior lawyers here. Let me introduce Fred Nzeako. He's a public affairs analyst as well. Good morning to you, Fred.
Thank you. Good morning.
And then also Libros Oshoma. Mr. Oshoma is as well a political affairs analyst. Thank you very, very much for coming on, both Fred and Libros. Let me start with you. I was saying in there that it's been a long time coming. That is to say, people had been advocating this. It wasn't for some reason possible until President Tinubu now signs the instrument that says and okays a 300% pay rise. First of all, give me your viewpoint.
Well, when the report came that 300% pay rise has been approved and signed by President Tinubu, two major questions sprang out immediately. When you talk of judicial officers, the public will begin to ask, who are the judicial officers?
Okay.
Because in the court system, you have those who sit on the bench, the magistrates and the judges, and then the other ancillary staff that also make for the smooth working of the judicial system. You see the court registrar, the court clerks, and the rest of them. And then
are these also called judicial officers?
We want to make this clarification for our dear viewers. That, so that because a lot of them will very easily think that judicial officers also include that clerk that works in the court. Judicial officers are essentially those who sit on the bench. But those other ones who are the court officials, the registrars, the court clerks, and the rest of them, the ones that belong to Judiciary Staff Union of Nigeria that you call JUSUN, that has been going on strike for a very long time, advocating and agitating for autonomy for the judiciary, and then increase in their pay and betterment of their conditions of service. Now, it is important to ask this question. Who are the beneficiaries of this 300% pay rise? Because we need to understand that the reporters reported well. Did they mean only the judges and the magistrates and those who sit on the bench in the courts, or do they mean every worker in the court system, which of course includes all those other ancillary staffs? Now, the second question that this information brings to the fore is, under the doctrine of separation of powers, is it in the purview of Mr. President to give such approval or to sign such increase? Is it not the responsibility of National Judicial Council, headed by the Chief Justice of the Federation, who is the #1 man in the judicial system? Even though in our constitution you say that when the legislators make the law and the appropriation, then the executive will now have to execute such laws. Did Mr. President sign that in line of his duty as the executive so that the laws will be executed? Or Mr. President, did he sign that? Now, the third question will now come out. Those are the naysayers who were asking the question whether it was an inducement, more or less, or a thank you appendage by Mr. President for the work of the judiciary towards ensuring the confirmation and certification of his election. These are all the questions, and it's important that our dear viewers open their mind to understand exactly the direction of this important signature, and then the import and the impact on our judicial system.
Okay. Well, thanks, Fred. But just going by the news reports, which you also sort of allowed that they had reported well, the news reports say that this bill, properly called the Judicial Office Holders' Salaries and Allowances Bill, that has now become a law upon the signature of the President being appended to it, it says the Chief Justice of Nigeria, he'll get what he'll get. The President of the Court of Appeal, Justices of the Supreme Court, let's see, all heads of various courts, such as the Chief Judge of the Federal High Court, Chief Judge of the Federal Capital Territory High Court, President of the National Industrial Court, among others.
Good.
Among others. So at this stage, let me pass it, as it were, to Libros for your interpretation.
Yeah, I agree. Let me use the word that we normally use in our everyday parlance. I supra what my friend Fred had said, but I want to add, because I have not seen it in the report, I'm still studying, that ordinarily it should be a recommendation from the National Judicial Council to Mr. President that he will subsequently approve. But before now, if you remember, the issues that the last CJN had with justices of the Supreme Court was not just about salaries, there were allowances and the welfare of Supreme Court justices. And that some of them even, complained about the working conditions. Here, we think when we just buy cars for judges, and that's enough. And then I laugh when I also see governors. They say governor donated 15 vehicles to judges. And then you see the governor handing keys of vehicles. The right question people will ask are these inducements. Yeah, is it the responsibility of a governor or the president to be donating or gifting cars to judges? Won't that amount to an inducement? If you have a case against such governor, against such government before those judges, will they be fair and unbiased, considering the fact that this is a government that is gifting them, allowances? And so we need to properly position this. And then, mind you, people that have been agitating for autonomy for judges and increase in welfare and salary, they are not captured in all of this. See, and among others, we say in the rules of interpretation, when specifics are mentioned, and then it is a general omnibus clause, you must interpret that general that omnibus clause in line with the specifics. So when they say Chief Justices of the Supreme Court, Justice of the Court of Appeal, so among others would mean judges, in that interpretation, and not judicial workers. Because judicial workers are civil servants, who are posted to work in the judiciary. But, yes, there is a minimum wage increase debated, but if these are people who are also been agitating for welfare and, among other things, salary increase, what is theirs in all of this increase for judicial workers, and then for judicial workers. And then secondly, another issue is in the judicial members of the judiciary cannot function effectively without these people. And so that is why anytime Judicial is on strike, judges' courts don't open. Courts don't open because judges cannot, they can't act as clerks. They can't be the one to open the courts for you. Even lawyers can't do that. And then amongst this, you have registrars. You have lawyers who are registrars in court, who some of them even have occupy or maintain the ranks of magistrate, even if not higher. So we need to also consider what happens to this. While it is good to increase salaries and welfare of judges, and also, it is also good to create an enabling environment for them to function. There are some states you will go to, you see the courtroom, you will ask yourself if, you know, you can wear a wig and gown inside a suit, on a suit, to function in such an environment, considering the kind of climate that we operate in. There are some states you get to, you see judges, you know, ride Okada to court to go sit. Mm-hmm. So it becomes very easy to even induce or influence, you know, people under such atmosphere.
Well, that sounds like the subject matter of a cartoon.
No, seriously.
To see a judge on his way.
I am telling you, there are some vehicles who broke down on their way to court.
But these,
in some states.
These will not be, I mean, as our people say, monkey by grade. There is all sorts of grades up to the Chief Justice.
Yes.
And not everybody will be captured in this instrument that the president has signed.
In looking at the judiciary, it shouldn't be like the president is gifting them, you know, salary increment. No. Okay. Now, otherwise, some persons will see it as inducement or a way of saying thank you for whatever favor. Well, so it should be that the NJC will sit down, look at the entire gamut of the challenges, make in conjunction, in collaboration with stakeholders in the system, and then make recommendations. And these recommendations can subsequently be debated and, you know, approved. Well, but this idea of we give, you know, increment here, give increment here, give increment here, it doesn't all go well for the system.
Well, it's really an interesting perspective that both you legal gentlemen have put out there, because you are the people best suited to know this, especially when you brought up that question for us non-legal minds that, look, these things usually have a procedure and indeed precedent. It should ordinarily come in the form of a recommendation, you have said, to the NJC, and then the NJC, what? Do they have the power to indeed say it is so, or they also have to now forward it that this is our recommendation?
Yes, there's a Revenue Mobilization and Fiscal Commission, you know, Act, and also, mind you, the NJC's responsibility is the welfare and discipline of judicial officers. Yes. So, if it's about judicial officers, I expect that this recommendation should be a holistic recommendation, you know, robustly debated, and then recommendations are made. So everybody will be captured. This idea of selecting some people out of it and then you leave the others, it will create, you know, favoritism and then rancor in the process. Remember when Oshibanjo said something as Attorney General of Lagos State, that when he became a Attorney General, he tried to visit houses of some of these judges and saw that they were writing with long hands. And so the Attorney General's office sat down in collaboration with the State Judicial Council, and then made recommendations. And it was those recommendations that were subsequently, you know, effected. And then they were further, collaboration, synergy, and debate with the MBA, which were further also adopted, that led to the new practice direction, where you now had front loading. It was Lagos State that started
various reforms.
The various reforms that kick-started in Lagos.
You know, really, that's interesting. And even as we're listening out there, there might be other lawyers or, you know, academics, you know, professionals who are also in this field who might want to call in with their commentary as well. But first of all, I would have taken it for granted as a layman that when you see these photo ops pictures of a governor, for instance, handing the keys of a vehicle to some judges, the nature of that whole judiciary thing, I would think that it goes without saying that these things are without prejudice. It doesn't matter if a case comes before any of their lordships tomorrow. He's not going to be bearing in mind that something happened. Or, no. You can't do that. I mean, that is the way I'm sure most ordinary people would see it.
Your thinking is correct.
You know,
the thinking of the ordinary people is correct.
Yes.
That they should be without prejudice.
Yes.
But in practice,
politicians,
are they usually without prejudice?
But the Attorney General and Minister of Justice, in a statement on Tuesday, he says that this ascent is historic It's historic in the sense that it's a long-standing demand of judicial officers across the country for the improvement of conditions of service. We've sat down here with both of you gentlemen, not necessarily together, but you're very frequent callers here, and I've bemoaned the fact that it is most unsatisfactory, the conditions. You just recalled, you know, them having to work longhand, and then I remember it hit the news at the time when Lagos sort of was the pathfinder in this whole matter about front loading and you know, and all of this. So, well, the Attorney General, who is one of you, and I know he's held in very high esteem by a lot of lawyers that I've spoken with, I imagine that's his mind as well. But the question you bring up, and that it will bear further commentary, it certainly will be useful, is this whole matter about the procedure might not have been that which is expected. I'm not going to go ahead and say that it was faulty, but that we have lawyers here who are saying that that's not how these things are done in our universe.
Let me allow Fred so that I don't, but I have a lot to say on this.
Okay, go ahead.
So, the procedure is not faulty, but why? Because you say when a convention becomes too recurrent, it seems to become the law.
Let's listen to Reverend Dominic, and so you continue. Good morning, Reverend Dominic.
Good morning, Yori. Good morning, Libros. Good morning, Barrister Nzako.
Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead, please.
Now, Yori, to start with, we should say kudos to the federal government for this increase. But I want to say this, and I want to direct my issue now to Libros, which I wanted to see, but I have not got time. There's a way we demarcate ourselves in this nation. And that demarcating is not good. Judges are corrupt. Whether you give judges $1 billion or not, a corrupt judge is a corrupt judge. Pastors are corrupt. Policemen are corrupt. Judiciary are corrupt. To Libros, I saw the video Libros made about pastors, and there's no exception. All pastors are corrupt. I have a stake in law.
No, I don't know that all pastors are corrupt. Maybe some pastors are corrupt. Some judges are corrupt.
Now, this is what I'm trying to say. There was an exception in everything. Nigerians are not that bad corrupt. There are judges that's upright, whether you pay them or not. What I'm trying to say that this way we address ourselves. Look at the increase. We have to accept the increase and demand for more. It's not a favor. It's an increase that deserves. All journalists are corrupt, and that is a lawyer. I studied that area. Why? Because how do you a pastor? You're a pastor, you want to be a lawyer, you'll be lying. But what I'm trying to say, the narrative of Libros, I have seen on social media that all pastors are thieves, all judges are thieves, all lawyers are thieves. There's a exception in everything in our nation. We must safeguard this nation because we're intellectuals.
Are you quoting something Libros wrote outside of this program?
He's quoting something outside of this program and he's quoting it upside down.
Because Libros hasn't said any of those things on this program this morning, but the man writes, the man also broadcasts. So unless you are quoting something from one of those, but Libros himself was saying that he must be quoting something outside of this program.
He quoted it upside down, out of context. There is no way as a lawyer I can make sweeping generic statement to say everybody. No.
I wanted to caution
and to bring it to this context, what I said is, look, sometimes when we blame people, we should also remember some of these little things that we do that are not in tandem with the position or the rule of law. It was about, good governance. And that good governance should start from amongst all of us. And you go to church, you see a pastor who compromised. You go to court, the judiciary, even the everyday artisan and all of that. So that we need a reorientation. I'm not denying the fact that I will say, and I will still say, that's why I am not faulting the increment. I am saying when a practice becomes too conventional, it becomes the law. It's like, oh, that's how we've been doing it. But what I am saying is, so that it does not look like an inducement. It does not look like, oh, yes, we're thanking these people. You allow them sit down. The issues are myriad, they are legion. So allow a robust discussion and not these selective increments. When you do it also selective, people are going to read meaning into it. I agree also that no matter what you do, there will be complaints. Leave room for 20% or 10% complaint. But 80% will say, yes, for the first time, we're doing it the way it should be done. And we always use words like international best practice.
Yes.
And so when you say, I gave you an instance. It is conventional for you in this climb to see governors gifting cars. I will use the word gifting cars. But that's why Johnson had consistently been fighting. Grant them autonomy so that when you are appointing judges, automatically there should be provisions for their vehicles, for their housing, for their allowance, every tool that they need to work with. Not that he starts flying Okada and then one day the state executive will now come and say we have bought 35 vehicles for judges. I am telling you this that because
you said you're not against the right.
No. I'm not against it. But let me tell you. A staff of the Ministry of Justice in one of the states once complained to me that, do you know that in some cases when judges give orders against us, the governor will say, okay, this judge is giving orders against my government. Don't worry, I know what to do. What do you know that you want to do? Deprive them of some of this pect that you used to give. You know, the case where you have to run, now your salary has been increased. But how about the cost of running your office, you know, and all of that? The equipment, the machineries,
there's a sort of an
there are some cases, there are some situations, some states that you get to. Do you know I was in a court in Ikorodu at some point. The judge would ask us, please, counsels, you can remove your robe because the courtroom is too hot.
It's too hot.
The courtroom is too hot.
So you are saying increasing the salaries of these judicial officers without improving manifestly the conditions under which they work, well, that is something that will bear
the way the matter was.
Sorry, spread quickly. Yes. Do you know a judge once told me, I entered his chambers, I was like, fantastic library. He said, these are all my books.
Oh.
These are all my books. But those days, the courts are known to have well-equipped library that some lawyers even go there for consultation.
Absolutely.
How many of these courts across the federation have well-equipped library?
They have such well-equipped libraries.
Okay, sorry. Good morning, Mr. Yakub. Thank you for calling in.
Yeah, good morning, Mr. Ayori. Even though, because of calling you, the PHC does want to know to do best. But I'm sure you are hearing me, sir.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes. Thank you very much. Chief Yori, this is a good development. And then I totally agree with Mr. Levros that increasing the salary of the judicial officer, part of the environment these old men and women are working. Because if you increase their salaries and then get into their working place, there's nothing to work with, so that it can make their work very easier for them. So the government need to look into that as well. And then I have my own reservation, even though they increase the salary, the judge that will be corrupt will definitely be corrupt. But there's a section, I totally disagree with my friend, Reverend Dominic. All judges are not corrupt, all lawyers are not corrupt, all pastors are not, even imam, all imam are not corrupt. Yeah. Because you always have exceptions. Like Justice Chukwudepo Puta, Justice Salami, Justice Tayo Diesho of this blessed memory. We read about them, we know these people stand out. But usually, I'm looking at a day whereby these judges can be able to do their thing on their own without not even expecting expecting any governor to giving them card or do anything for them. Because as Mr.
But we're moving in that direction now. We're moving in that very direction.
Yes, exactly. Because 1,000 miles starts from a step. So the government they need to do more, and then they should continue doing what they know to do best, so that I don't have doubt in my mind. Because the Lagos State is an example of all these countries. Because if you look at the justice in Lagos State, it is far, far more better than other states. I stand to be correct anyway, but I know that. So God Almighty will keeping the government to do more, and then I believe that moving forward, we are going to get better. Thank you, and God bless you, sir.
Thank you very much. You know what? Before any of you gentlemen, either of you gentlemen want to comment, let me quickly go on a break, get that out of the way. We'll be right back, and we do please want your calls on this very, 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 very important subject the president has signed. And by the way, Trade Union Congress was, agreeing with it, commending it, aligning with it, and saying it's the right thing to do. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Doubt and fear doesn't occur at the canvas, it shows in the canvas. It shows the conation of raw earthen material slabbed, stroked and molded at a pace provided by the doubt and fear. Every move way in the struggle of one to the other, merging the past to the present, brushstrokes of colors seen but not known. For when the wailing stops, the pieces settle down in abject beauty erected for a century of a century. Speaking, advocating, protesting as the arts are meant to be.
Welcome back. Do I have someone online already? Did I hear you say we have a caller?
Yes.
Oh, good morning, Mr. George.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Thank you for calling in. Go ahead, please.
Good morning to the two lawyers who are looking well fed.
Yes, so I'm well fed. Take your yourself.
Oh dear!
I make sure I take care, because
what's the import of that comment, Mr. George?
You don't take care of yourself, who will?
All right. Okay, please go ahead.
Please take care of yourself, Mr. George.
I personally do not see the basis for questioning the remuneration of the judges.
No, nobody's
and comparing them with the salaries that the clerks and the associated workers are earning. I don't think so. As we were talking, I googled the budget of the Minister of Justice, and I saw that when the government increased the salaries for the judges, they made a special budget for implementation, and it went beyond the salary increase, which is to say, what Libros is talking about those associated services, cars and tools they work are also included. But the question is, to what extent? We know that right from time, budgets have been made for the things that Libros is complaining about. They have cars, they have offices, they have tools, they need to be upgraded. But they present budgets every year. I don't know if Libros has ever gone into their budget implementation process and see to what extent the performance come out at the end of the year. I think that's where we should look at first. It's one thing to say something is not on ground. It's another to find out whether there was money actually allocated, for that thing.
Okay.
That's what I just
thought you'd add to the conversation, point out. Okay, you were saying that budgets are no more than estimates.
They are estimates, what you hope to receive and what you hope to spend. Yes. And most times, these budgets are implemented, maximum 30% implementation. And then next year, you hear carry over again. And that's why some projects for 7 years, they become a recurrent item on the budget. So that's why, at times like this, when you are making laws, Nobody is condemning. We need to get that point. Nobody is condemning the increase. We're saying it is a welcome development. I am also not one to praise politicians for doing what they said they would do. Because with the parts of the world we come from today, a man says, I will build roads. And then he build road, you say, oh, kudos, you take out paid advert to congratulate him, as if it is his money. So the issue is, as fantastic as this is, you need to look at the holistic, the entire gamut, so to be able to achieve the desired result. And then also, this idea of even if you pay them $1 billion, they'll be corrupt. There are mechanisms for discipline. So, to whom much is given, much is expected.
Absolutely.
Once you give more and then the person now feels he's not okay, set up, ensure that those machineries for questioning and discipline is effective. We have also recommended that this idea of NJC sitting on ad hoc basis, and then the Chief Justice of the Federation selecting almost 80% of the members of the NJC, also should be looked into. So that at the end of the day, because if you know the number of petitions before the NJC, you marvel. Both petitions from the states, from local government, from all of them gets to the table of just one organization. And they will be the one to look at. So if you have an NJC that sits regularly, you have a lot of upright retired judges that you can engage to do these things also. And you have them sit regularly to look into these disciplinary issues. Because Lord Dennis said, when a judge sits on trial, the judge is on trial. You know, so if there are cases of discipline, the lawyers can also do petitions right to the NJC. And in some cases, anonymous. And then you investigate and find out. But so we're not just looking at gifting. And then the area I frowned at is the idea of, members of the executive consistently being the one to gift. And that brings us back to the judicial autonomy that we have been preaching. There are some fantastic judges in this country that no matter what you do, you will not compromise them, because for them, look, it is not about the money. While there are some, they got to the bench because of they feel, look, I've been frustrated, what can I get out of this? So, but how do we ensure that in all of this, because once you lose it with the judiciary, there will be no hope in the society, because both for the business, both for the private people, both for the government, this is the only institution that would sit down and look a man in the face and say, you have done wrong, I hereby condemn you to prison. Okay. What will make them, sit up and do those things and do them effectively? That's what we're talking about. We're not just talking about just that 300% one-off.
Okay, but that is what grabbed the headlines, and the fact that you gentlemen are stepping back a bit from all of that and saying, yeah, that is there, but perhaps there are other issues that should have gotten a similar level of attention that has not been so, and that is what you are bringing out here. But just about everybody else, I don't mean to say that you guys are the only people who are saying it this way, but the popular thought out there, commentary out there, is that we approve. I mean, normally Nigerians, before they will let go of anything, any money to any public, it's not easy. But this one where TUC, all sorts of, what are these groups called? All these different groups that are saying, yep, that one, we can't fault it. It shows that even though it's not coming to them, but they feel that, and this whole matter about corruption, the idea about even if you give a judge, 100 million naira a month, the ones that are going to be corrupt are still going to be corrupt. In fact, I think that's even defeatist.
Yes, it is defeatist.
I don't even want to be thinking of judges in that light at all. It's an aberration. It's almost like when you come up with that kind of an argument, it's almost like you're taking that possibility as a given, as a necessary sort of a hazard of the office. But yeah. I thought it's a very rare. I thought it should be seen as a rarity. You don't think of judges and corruption in the same sentence?
Of course you don't. Of course you don't. The only challenge with this, while many people are now having different opinions, even though the preponderance of the opinions are positive and in support or in agreement with the rise. Of course, the 200% movement from 30,000 minimum wage to 70,000 is 200 and something percent. If it had hit 90%, it would have been 300%.
Yes.
All right. So if you now increase the judges, judicial officers' salaries and emoluments by 300%, I don't think there is a big deal there that will begin to worry anybody. And let me sound it very loud and clear that we are not against it at all on this table. We are not. What we are talking about is that in matters like this, let us follow the appropriate procedure, so that the narrative will be clearly understood, and then insinuations will be led to rest.
You've made that point from the very beginning.
Absolutely.
I think both of you have, in your different ways, made that point that there are procedures for this kind of thing in that universe. Professor Edmund in Enugu, good morning to you, Prof.
Yeah, good morning, Yuri.
Thank you for calling
and the two learned gentlemen there.
Thank you, Prof.
Thank you, Prof.
I hope you are listening.
We can hear you. You're good. You're good.
Okay. Yeah. Good morning to the two learned gentlemen over there.
Good morning, Prof.
Yes, these two gentlemen, let me tell you that I admire them. I like the way they talk. I've been following them in different television outlets.
Thank you.
Nzako, my brother, from the same Anambra with me. Nzako, friend, you are most welcome over there.
Thank you, sir, Prof.
And then Oshiomole.
Oshoma. Libros Oshoma.
Libros Oshoma.
Libros Oshoma, the man from Edo State, is another intelligent young man.
Thank you, sir.
My question is this. I quite agree with the people that have called. Personally, I'm not against the increment of the salary of judges or their emoluments. I'm not against it. I believe in procedures and processes.
Okay.
Is that award being given capriciously by the president without following any due process? Like the physical and mobilization act and blah blah blah. This is an agency set up to moderate and award salaries to government workers across board. So in as much as the judges own, as a matter of fact, is not overdue, there will be hues and cries about the judges' salaries. However, my concern is the process, or rather the procedure, how the president arrived at that. Having said that,
they laid a bill before him that had gone, by definition, if it's a bill, it had to have gone through the National Assembly and gone through all the rigors of coming up with a bill that he signed into law.
Okay, the bill went through the National Assembly, right?
Yes, it had to have.
Then one of your guests here was talking about NJC, that the bill could have gone to the NJC.
Well, yeah, that's a different aspect of the the process.
I don't believe that the NJC should be in a position to award salary to their members.
Okay.
That could have been a different thing altogether.
Okay.
It is not within their purview. It is not within their...
Sorry, Prof. Are you still there? No. Yeah. I think, Prof. I think one of the it was Libros, I think, who said that there are procedures. Even Fred had also said the same thing, and that it was a bit surprising to him that the recommendation for the initiation of the process, as far as they are aware of, might not have come from the NJC, which they would have preferred, it being their territory, their universe, that this is where a recommendation might have come from. I think there's that aspect. If I'm getting...
Yes, you are correct. You are correct, because the way it was reported is as if Mr. President just woke up and then decided to give 300% pay rise, which of
the
course
law doesn't allow him.
Which of course he couldn't have done. And then once it comes to judiciary, the NJC must always be the one to recommend, because even in appointment of justices and judicial officers, it's the NJC that does the recommendation, and then the executive will now appoint, and then legislature will now confirm.
Exactly, and that those that put this bill together that has become law now cannot be unaware of that fact. In other words, what I'm saying is that the NJC must have been very, intimately involved in this. Who are you? What do you know about it to come up without them, without the NJC?
Yes, and I think at the back end, there must have been...
The NJC must have been fully involved.
If you remember, this bill actually, let's so that we position, this bill actually was a bill to consider to adjust the age of retirement for judges at the Supreme Court. If you remember, that was how this whole bill started. And considering retirement age for Supreme Court justices and then adjusting salaries for...
separate?
No, they are the same.
No, the same bill.
It is the same bill.
It is the same bill and now law that allows an extension.
Yes. Consider the bill also consider. If you even read the bill also further considers the adjustment in the age of. What I am saying is, let's move away from this age of sit down, we propose a bill, push the bill, and then because the president, this is what the president wants to achieve, we quickly push the bill, and then you adjust salary, adjust the age of retirement. We have been adjusting age of retirement.
Why do we think it's the president that wants to achieve it?
It's an executive bill. It's an executive bill. It was an executive bill. So
it's an executive bill.
Yes, it was an initiative of the executive.
Okay,
yes, it was an initiative of the executive.
That's why, you know.
And that is why it now
not to be confused with executive.
And that's why it now seems as if Mr. President,
it
now seems as if Mr. President wants to make political capital out of that.
So
that is why I say the narrative must be...
Fred.
The narrative must be...
Where is the political...
put in proper context.
That's why you have the narrative is like Mr. President is gifting...
He's gifting.
100% increment.
Increment.
It's an executive bill. So what I am saying, so that tomorrow we don't come back to the table to begin to discuss another bill to take care of the welfare and what do you call it? Working conditions. It would have been appropriate, we waited for this long, it would have been appropriate to sit down, sit back, look at the whole issues, let it be, you know, a collaborative effort amongst all stakeholders. And you know what happened during public hearing. I'm saying this on international platform. During public hearing, sometimes some people, you don't even know when this public hearing ahead. Some persons are selected to just come make, you know, presentations during public hearing, and then it ends there.
Okay. Mohammed has been waiting to join us. Good morning, Mr. Mohammed. Thank you for holding on.
Morning.
Go ahead now.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Good morning, sir. Go ahead now, please.
Yeah, good morning for your guest. They have spoken well, very well. More especially the last person. I will take it from where he stopped.
Okay.
The 300% increase for the judicial workers, many are interpreting it negatively because some believe that maybe the president is paying the judicial workers back based on what happened during the election period, during the judicial whatever. So I think that thing has to be looked into. The president has to look into the civil servant salary too, because what people are saying that how can you increase 300% to only one sector and then just 100 and something % to a civil servant that are going to work every day from Monday to Friday every day, but the judicial workers sit at when they schedule a case. So what is the rationale behind that? The judicial workers are not going to the judiciary every day, like civil servants that are going to the work every day. You must buy fuel every day. You must go to office every day. But the judicial judges, they go as when they have case. Not every day they go to work. That is what the people are saying now. So the president should look into it, even though the law has been passed, but he should look down, he should look into it, maybe the fuel, let him reduce the fuel for the civil servants to get it easily, to be going to work every day, to commiserate with this 300% that they increase to judicial workers. I think that is what the president will do, and now avoid all this accusation and whatever, that they are even thinking maybe he's trying to bribe the judges.
All right,
I think that is what the president should do. Thank you and have a nice day.
Indeed, thank you very much. Well, much talk about this particular instrument, this particular law that the president has just signed. But then Perhaps fittingly so, because now we're hearing figures such as, according to this paper, all papers are going to be reporting the same thing, but I have the Punch in front of me here. The Punch is saying that, the Chief Justice of Nigeria will now get an annual salary of 64 million, translating to around 5 million naira a month. And, Nigeria's ears will perk up there when they hear that anybody, whoever, is getting 5 million naira a month.
Some lawyers like Fred make much more.
Of course.
And public opprobrium.
While justices of the court will earn 61.4 million naira annually. All heads of the various courts, such as the Chief Judge of the Federal High Court, Chief Judge of the Federal Capital Territory, and President of the National Industrial Court, among others, would earn the same basic salary of some 7.9 million naira. Annually. So
that's when you hear 5 million naira in Nigeria of today. That's small money for a Chief Justice of the Federation.
You see now.
So even some lawyers. What I am saying, so that we need to understand this.
Here we are on national television, and you just said.
Look, let me tell you.
You just said 5 million naira a month is small money.
Yes.
I understand the context.
Let me say this. Let me say this. In Netherlands, for example.
But your viewers are also hearing you say it.
Yes. I'm in Netherlands, for example. Their tax is 60%. And the remaining 40%, you don't even do anything with it.
Yes.
Because the state provides almost everything. So if you provide almost everything and the necessary tools and the amenities to work, sometimes even 1 million naira will be more than enough.
Yeah, right. You're right.
But in the absence of the basic things,
so people just
now begin, even if 5 million naira will be too small in the absence of the basic. And that's what I'm saying.
And this 5 million naira is going to be taxed in any way.
Of course.
So we add all of that. But
if you have children who are in the university, if you have to, mind you, these days we no longer talk about public, talking about private. And then, in most cases, abroad.
But there's the students'
and then
loan that the president earlier signed into
law. We are talking, if you have students who are in the university,
yes,
and for somebody
they can apply.
Level, you want to give them education abroad, you know what Forest is saying.
No, but if you juxtapose it, liberals, if you juxtapose it with the earnings at the National Assembly. If a chief judge will be earning 5 million.
And Shehu Sani said,
and the senator is earning
20-something
million a month.
Exactly. So that's
how do you relate to that? Meanwhile, to be a senator, you need only school certificate.
Yeah, primary school.
Primary school. Only attempt at school certificate.
Attempt.
You become a senator.
A primary school is equivalent.
And do you know what
equivalent if you can read and write?
Do you know what it takes to produce a chief judge? So that is why nobody. That's why I say there's no big deal in this matter. But when the politicians want to make political capital out of it, that's where the public now begin to ask questions.
And I guess you have that suspicion.
Take for example.
Yeah.
You are thinking, and that is the part that
make political capital out of this.
A bit unkind.
Yeah, because
people are looking at this.
We're looking at a whole gamut of issues.
And you are saying that it is possible for it to be subject to this. I would say.
We have increased judges' salary. But then tomorrow, when you talk about achievement, they say we have increased judges' salary. We adjusted the age by 300%. And so we just take that increment in judges' salary. Okay. Meanwhile, the issues that led to all of these complaints are still with us.
All right, well, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you very much, barristers Nzeako and Oshoma, for coming on and giving us a different perspective on the whole thing. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Okay, that's our program today. Do please join us tomorrow for a fresh edition. I am Iyori Folarin. Bye-bye for now.